Hey everybody, we're here, Ghostbusters edition. Who you gonna call? Johnny Donuts. He might not be the Marshmallow Man, but he is the Donut Man.
I'm the
And
donut man. Yeah,
yeah,
Putty's more like a marshmallow man.
yeah, he is. And or the Michelin Man.
The Michelin man. Five
Uh,
stars?
it's true. We're gonna talk about Ghostbusters, the franchise, but also the new movie, Frozen
Hmm.
Empire. So we'll talk about Frozen Empire a bit in a sort of review. This video won't be that long. And then we're gonna do a tier list type of thing towards the end. All right. Do you understand? Okay. So,
If not too bad.
did you watch Ghostbusters Frozen Empire? I assume so since you're here.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. I feel like we're going to land in different places.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Did you tell me what you thought about Ghostbusters of the Empire? Tell me what it's about first,
Okay,
if you
so
can.
Frozen Empire, from what I understand of the plot, is this creature from thousands of years ago is apparently afraid of fire and makes everything frozen. And only the fire keeper can keep him at bay. So the whole purpose of the movie is to find the fire keeper and to put the demon back where it belongs before he freezes the entire city.
That was very good, actually. Okay. What did you think?
Well, for one, it's a demon and not a ghost, so there's no ghost busting per se.
It's also more of a monster than it is a demon.
Yes.
Well, does that make sense? Like, I know we're really like nitpicking
It
at
looked
that.
like Lilith from Diablo 4.
It did, actually. That's funny. Um, I actually, in terms of just like, we'll talk about the monster for a second.
Yeah.
I might be lagging. But I thought the the look of the monster was
It was
fine
cool. Yeah, I like the look.
until the horns. I didn't like the horns
No.
because it made it so like it's such a skinny, tall creature, and then the horns make it like stick out so far to the
Very
sides.
like it worked in like, for example, a movie from 40 years ago, Legend with Tim Curry. Those horns worked,
Yeah.
but these ones didn't.
Or like the horns on Dave Grohl as the devil in Tenacious D.
Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny.
But yeah,
A
I
long ass fucking time ago, a town called Kickapoo.
this guy just swore on live television. Um, the Sasquatch is my daddy, and he's going to protect. Okay. Anyways, look into my Sasquatch eyes. Shut up. So, anyways, greatest
Yeah,
movie of all time. The monster was pretty cool,
yeah.
but I just think there's no development on the monster, and it
It just
doesn't
showed
really.
up. I liked the way they introed it from like 120 years ago, whatever it
Well,
was.
that
It
was
showed,
wicked.
yeah, the firehouse from 120 years ago and everything. Like, but
The
it
how it
didn't.
was like all carved into the thing, like that
Yeah,
was
and it
really
was
cool.
behind the wall.
I really like that, and
When I watched that, it gave me like OG Ghostbuster vibes. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
I think this whole movie has OG Ghostbusters vibes because it's a lot more serious. And like I talk to people about this and they don't seem to like understand what I mean. Because like Ghostbusters is
Yeah,
funny. And I'm like, yeah, it's funny, but like the first movie is really dry and dark.
yeah,
Like the humor is really dark.
yeah,
It's not like super bubbly and happy. And the tone of the ghosts is actually like not it's kind of scary, I guess, because
yeah.
they're
I
like
say, and the same thing too. The ghost at the end of the movie is not a ghost. Gozer the Gozerian is a Sumerian demon.
exactly. Um and in the second movie as well. Vigo
The Kirk, yeah,
is a demon.
yes,
Well, he sells his soul kind of thing. Anyways, but I thought it was good. It's like and there's a good background to the
hmm
monster and like the storytelling of the monster is good. My issue with that, like I said, is there's no development leading up to it. It's just you're here now. This is the monster. There's the monster.
hmm
Go fight the monster. And you're like,
Okay,
okay. And that's to me on top of a few other elements, especially like the darkness of everything,
yeah,
made it feel like the real Ghostbusters. And to me, I grew up with that, so that's like
yeah,
I really like that. It was like a villain of the week situation.
yeah.
Uh
I just found like in terms of like it wasn't sure what kind of a movie it wanted to be. It wasn't sure if it wanted to be a horror. It wasn't sure if it wanted to be a kids movie. It wasn't sure if it wanted to be a it kind of wasn't sure what it wanted to be to me.
it wasn't sure if it was trying to be a lesbian love story
Yeah.
between a ghost
And a girl.
and a child. Um,
That's a little Bill Cosby situation. No, not Bill
it was.
Cosby.
I thought that was weird because
Yeah.
they make a really really strong point. Okay, of making sure you know how old she is.
Yes.
And then that ghost, there's no timeline. That ghost could be like hundreds of years old.
Or could be like fresh.
Like, and like it just it
The
felt
other thing too, the other thing
strange.
I felt strange about that plot point is the fact that Phoebe is the granddaughter of Egon. She's one of the smartest people there. Egon was the smartest Ghostbuster, but yet she fell for the stupid little ploy.
And this is the biggest part of it. Sorry, we're gonna get it's kind of spoilery
Yeah, but
now. I mean, not really. It's at the beginning of the movie.
yeah.
It's kind of spoilery. So the ghost intentions, which we won't even, I don't think we'll
No.
talk about it,
No, that's in the spoiler section.
but the ghost intentions are the reason that she meets Phoebe at the beginning of the movie. But we don't know anything about what's happening and the coming of whatever the monster's name is. Sorry, I don't remember for
Yeah.
some reason. Timmy will look it up.
Timmy's on it right now.
Has only just come back to life. So how is there already a plot in place and what does Phoebe have to do with the plot because Phoebe at this point doesn't know the firekeeper.
Right.
So I like that's you're like really long shotting here.
Garak.
All
Garak
right.
or whatever. Garak.
Garak. Garak. Um, I thought the acting was pretty good. I think there's a clear push to in the first movie was more about Finn Wolfhard and
Introducing the characters more
yeah,
than anything.
those the brother and the sister was the main focus point of the movie.
Yeah.
And in this movie, Paul Rudd is the main focus point. Everything revolves around Paul Rudd.
And he's also
All
the comedic relief too.
It is, and I think I'm okay with this because I think
Yeah.
Paul Rudd is the right choice to base the Ghostbusters franchise around over the kids. I think you keep the kids in it, but you later on make them become if you're going to continue this franchise
Yeah.
when they become like in their 20s, let's say, then they're the Ghostbusters. You know what I mean?
Because Paul Rudd, he has that mix of all four of the Ghostbusters. You know what I mean? He has like he's a
He
mixture of
does.
all four of them, right? He has the intelligence because he was a school teacher. He can be a little bit of aloof like Ray was, a bit sarcastic like Peter was, and then he has the serious moments like Winston was.
Yeah, and he's also all of them except Peter were very mechanically inclined. Like not necessarily smart, but they were very good at building. Like Winston could
Mhm.
just put to get things together. They all could do that.
Yeah.
So I think, and he's kind of the combination of that. So I mean, yeah, the acting was good. I enjoyed it. I had a good time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's maybe the best Ghostbusters movie, but I think it's
Not by a
better
long
than Ghost.
shot.
I won't say. I'm not going to spoil what it's. Anything's better than
Okay.
what. But I I did have a good time. I think if they could have found a way to streamline it, I didn't mind how many separate side storylines there are because it kept
No, they
you
made
paying
sense and they all
attention
came back together. Yeah.
and it kept you focused. You're like, okay, I got to
Mhm.
pay attention to what's happening. It was slow, but slow doesn't mean bad. Like people
Yeah.
interpret slow
Boring
as
or
boring, but slow is development. It was developing
it
so many
developed
characters.
properly. Yeah.
There are too many characters. I agree.
Yes.
But it's like, come on, let's all just calm down for a sec here.
Yeah.
Oops, I minimized my thing. Anyways, yeah, do you want to give any final thoughts and then we'll talk a couple spoilers?
I mean, for what it was, I mean, it wasn't a bad movie. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, it tried to take it in too many like in terms of the genre of the film. It lacked a it lacked a characteristic, I guess is a good way because
It's missing clear direction.
it is. And I don't want to say direction because the director did a decent job with it.
But the story has
The
the
story
story and
direction,
the
yeah.
tones of the movie are not like perfect, which
Like I
I'm gonna
mean,
knock the writing
it's
and the
the
directing.
same thing here. Like you had Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd works well as a comedic relief, but then again, you also have Kumail Nanjiani's character as comedic relief, and then you also have Podcast as comedic relief, right? Like it's too much.
Yeah, and Finn Wolfhard's character is basically useless.
Yeah,
He's the only one out of all the massive amount of characters in this movie that doesn't really serve any purpose to the movie.
Yeah, like the main focus is Phoebe. We'll talk about Phoebe when we get into spoilers, but like
Okay, so you want to give it a score?
um I mean 6.8.
All right, I also gave it a 6.8, which you should probably like get something checked, like mentally checked.
Yeah.
Maybe like go to a therapist or something, coming up with the same scores as me. Anyways,
We've been doing
that's
this too long now.
that's a score. We're gonna talk spoilers now.
Yeah.
So if I'll put like a thing here so you can skip this chunk and go to the tier list after if you would like. Um, so spoilers wise, I think this is a big thing, and this is not even spoilers for the movie. This is my thoughts on what they
Mhm.
should have done. Okay, so you give me 2 minutes of your time, and you tell me if you think this is a good idea.
Sure.
In the first movie here, they should have introduced the kids, introduced the four kids, the house, everything, found the technology. They should have made maybe Finn Wolfhard's character and his love interest become the dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, because maybe they needed virgin dogs to be lovers or something, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
the
yeah.
way the parents had to save the kids, and then now you've created a main focus around Paul Rudd, okay, and the mom as Ghostbusters. Okay, you don't even the mom is the new
She's just
Spengler.
there. She's
Yeah,
just there though. That's the thing.
but
She
that's the
doesn't
thing, right?
offer anything.
So what you should do is establish her. She doesn't have to be smart. You could make someone else be the smart one, but you could make her be one of the other characters, regardless. Okay, you make her the new Spengler. You establish that the granddaughter is super smart, and that
Hmm.
somewhere down the line, like she helped. The kids help all the time. All four
Yeah.
kids are helping. They could even be in the second movie like they are, but they're not Ghostbusters yet. So
Those
in
four kids are the core four of the next movie, I think.
of like the up yeah, so this
Yeah.
trilogy for me, which I would have done, so in this movie I would have had those two, like the same thing. Winston has the thing, they go to New York, they're the two main Ghostbusters, kind of like they are. Then
Yeah.
they bring in Kumail Nanjiani, who also has the fire powers. You can keep that
Hmm.
whole storyline intact, and then your replacement for Ray is Patton Oswalt, and now those are your
Yeah.
four Ghostbusters. And then you let them do this movie that just happened, and then the next movie, and then you age them out. So in the fourth movie now, they're like the overseers of the young
So
Ghostbusters who
you
are now
start a
the
new
Ghostbusters.
trilogy from that
Yeah.
point.
Where those guys are in the movie the way that the Ghostbusters are in this movie, where they're like the older people who are helping them, but they're not the Ghostbusters anymore. The young kids are the Ghostbusters now. They're in their
Yeah.
20s, all four kids, and they're the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been the way to go. I would really, really, really push for this third movie for your nostalgic thing to be having Rick Moranis come back.
Yeah. I don't know if he will, but
I would give him whatever he wants. I would also make a joke reference. Okay, this is the last thing I'll say.
Oscar, they got to bring back Oscar.
Bring back
They,
Oscar. That's fine. That's actually a good idea. But make a joke reference and have Eddie Murphy be in the movie as a cameo in the third one. And just because like he was supposed to be the main guy, right?
yeah.
And he could have him there drive by and be like, he's doing like an interview with Eddie Murphy and be like, I was supposed to be a Ghostbuster, like something
Have him
like
dressed
that,
up
right?
like Axel Foley.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Anyways,
I
that's not a
digress.
bad idea, right?
No, it's not a bad idea at all. And that would have probably told a more cohesive story than this one did.
It would also give you nostalgia 10 years from now for those kids. So when they are the Ghostbusters, you have
Hmm.
something to be like, oh, I have an attachment to them because they were in all those movies.
Yeah.
Now it's like they've been pushed to the side to try and establish Paul Rudd. So now it's
Yeah.
like, and Paul Rudd is like almost 60, so I don't know how
Is he
many
really
more.
that?
Yeah.
He
I
looks
think he's like
fantastic.
I think he's like 56.
Wow. Good for him.
Tell Timmy, call Timmy.
Timmy's on it. Paul Rudd is 55.
So you can get two more movies out of him, but for me, I think you do a third movie here, and I would go on pause for like 10
That means
years.
he's only like 12 years younger than Bill Murray. No, 20 years, 20 years.
Yeah,
Still.
Bill Murray's like 75.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would make the next movie and then go on pause for like 10 years and then come back with the kids again as like the
Uh,
main leads
yeah.
because I think
Take a bit of a break like they did with Ghostbusters 2. There was like what, a 5-year gap between the first
yeah,
Ghostbusters
and
and the second one?
let people's mentality change because everyone has like this pitchfork mentality where it's like, oh, there's Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Like there's so much gatekeeping
Yeah.
for the
To
Ghostbusters
franchises. Yeah.
franchise when everything after the first movie isn't
Was
good.
mediocre.
So it's like, what are we protecting? If anything, you shouldn't even have made the second movie. You should have left Ghostbusters as one movie.
Yeah.
And I have fun with every Ghostbusters movie, so that's just me. But for me, the movie dragged a bit. I think I really liked the Winston's like science lab thing. Like
Yeah,
they
how
added so
he
that
added
kind
a
of
lot to it.
stuff.
Yeah.
All of those extra things is what made it feel like real Ghostbusters because there was so much more. Real Ghostbusters expanded so much on the universe.
And
And
the
you know
tech
what?
and
I
all
think
that
you
kind of.
might be right. We might have to actually look at this, but I believe real Ghostbusters takes place after Ghostbusters 2. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Real Ghostbusters is the gap between Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters
Ghostbusters
2.
2,
And
yes.
then Extreme Ghostbusters is 10 years after the events of Ghostbusters 2
Hmm.
because it continues from real Ghostbusters. So they're canon, but they're not canon. Like the stuff that
Yeah.
happens isn't canon, but they
The
fit in the
game is
timeline.
canon though, which
The
we'll get
game
into.
is canon. It's a good game actually.
It's unofficially Ghostbusters 3 is what they said.
That was the storyline that they were going to use,
Hmm.
not the one from Ghostbusters 2. The one in like the 2000s that they were planning on
Hmm.
making, that's that
That's the story, yeah.
apparently, allegedly.
Supposedly, as my dad would say.
Supposedly. But it's I had a fun time with this. I know it's a bit
Yeah.
slow in the middle, but I do think it offers character growth. I love the cameos. Patton Oswalt was good.
Yeah.
Camille Nanjiani was great.
Yeah, I liked them in this film.
Him and Paul
Like,
Rudd carried this movie.
yeah. You had Kingo and Ant-Man, two Marvel characters.
There you go.
And MODOK, technically, if you really think about it.
And the guy from Ant-Man and the Wasp, that Bill Murray played in the Quantum Realm.
Yes.
So, I mean, are we going to keep going? You have the Stranger Things kid.
Multiverse?
Multiverse. Dan Aykroyd was in Casper.
Yes, he was. Which didn't the Ghostbusters make a cameo in Casper?
Just Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
He comes out. He's like, who are you going to call? Somebody else.
Somebody else.
Yeah, I think I genuinely enjoyed this movie. I know I didn't give it a crazy high score, but there are a lot of small things to pick at this movie that take it down. But
there weren't plot holes, but like I said,
there's a lot that could be
stuff
moved.
Not just moved, but like stuff that could have been rewritten. Like it would have worked as a comedy, horror / comedy.
Yeah,
but
podcast has no purpose.
No,
Finn Wolfhard has no purpose.
Like, I mean, what's the other girl? Lucky's character, was her name Lucky?
Yeah.
His girlfriend there?
Like, she kind of has a purpose, but she also doesn't show up until halfway into the movie.
Yeah, when they find out she's working as at the tech lab with Winston.
But that's things that I find weird, right? Like, why is this random young girl not moved out of her house and now works in a lab in New York across the entire country and everyone's just
or
okay
isn't
with it?
Podcast the same age as Phoebe and he's allowed to work in the summer with like some random guy?
No, so he explains what happens. He's supposed to be at space camp and he went there instead. He lied and pretended and said he was going to space camp.
But I mean, I like that. Like, I mean, the concept of like, what's his name? William Atherton coming back as Walter Peck.
Yeah. And
like the whole line. Yeah. He still has no dick.
Yeah, dickless. But that's the funny part, right? And this is a thing that a lot of people complained about online, that the joke is really funny, but no one was in the room to know that he got called dickless.
Yeah.
So how did that guy know to yell out dickless?
Exactly. But maybe it was from the interview that they must have seen from way back when.
It could be. So
and how did he get voted as mayor when in 1984 he was the reason the city went into crisis?
I don't know, but they're acting like nobody knows the Ghostbusters. They literally had like thousands and thousands of people watch them
destroy the Martian. Yeah. Millions in New York, right?
The Statue of Liberty moved. The news caught it. People around the world saw
this.
And
he used the Nintendo Pro controller to do it.
Yeah, and if you go by lore, right? Not the character from Star Trek. If you go by lore,
Data's brother.
Yeah, if you go by actual lore and you include the cartoons, the actual span of Ghostbusters between that went before the gap from Extreme Ghostbusters to the new movie, which is like 20 years. Because they pretend like Extreme Ghostbusters never happened because it kind of didn't, but it is canon somehow. they were around for over 20
Mhm.
years
Yeah.
and they saved the world twice in two world-ending events.
Yep.
So it's like people must know who they are.
Yeah.
Anyways,
It's
digressing from the point.
Cheech Marin said in the first one, better late than never.
Exactly. Mexican American. So here's some things I didn't like. I gotta point them
Sure.
out. I didn't like the I didn't like the way that the firehouse from the exterior, because it's filmed in a studio
Soundstage. Yeah.
soundstage, that it's all CGI. So it's like when you see the things moving around on the street or the car driving out and stuff, it's
Yeah.
all fake, and the exterior view of it when it's night or day has like a CGI like cover on it, and I didn't like that.
Yeah. So they used the actual firehouse in New York, but they had green screens all around it to cover it all up.
Yeah. And then they also built one in a soundstage in England.
Mhm.
So there's that. And then I don't know, there's a few small things like
Like I said, I don't like the whole mid plot point of like how they need Phoebe to leave her body as a ghost so she can become, and how she fell for
yeah,
that.
I
I
think
found that a little
I
weak.
would have removed the entire girl storyline.
That should have been, if you ask me, instead of Phoebe, that should have been Finn's character. Him
Yeah.
falling for the girl, because that would
And
make more sense.
not for a not to do a lesbian story.
That doesn't
Okay.
bother me. I don't care about that. It
It
just would have
just
made more
didn't
sense with
make
Finn's.
sense like that. Right.
Yeah.
And Finn's character already doesn't have anything to do.
He chased Slimer for
I
most of the
think
movie.
Phoebe's character should have been the one chasing Slimer, because she's been forced to stay in the house now because she can't be
Yeah.
part of the
And
Ghostbusters. So
that's
she's
and
trying to
that's what I'm
find stuff
saying.
to do.
Exactly.
Right. And to me, it was like that's exactly why it didn't make sense to me. Um, Regardless of that, I also didn't like the fire thing story, and not because it's bad, because it feels out of place. So in Ghostbusters, obviously it's ghosts and like we have to
Yeah.
accept all these supernatural things happen, but this started to get into the realm of like really fantasy, where there's like people who are fire controllers and
Yeah,
like
it's like
ice
Avatar: The Last
people.
Airbender. Like there's
Yeah,
fire bending and wind bending, and
you left the realm of being supernatural and spooky and ghosty and entered this realm of like fantasy where it's like Lord of the Rings now, and to me that took me a little bit out of the element.
yeah,
uh so yeah.
yeah, like that. That's those are the two main, like, and William Atherton as the mayor. Why would they vote this guy in after they saw what happened with him? It'd be like, yeah, doesn't
Did
make
he
sense.
just become mayor? Did we just realize it? Where was
Yeah,
Sigourney Weaver in this movie?
yeah. They didn't
um
explain what happened to her at all.
they also have a reference to Extreme Ghostbusters,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't remember it. I'm gonna
There's
see
a
if I
few.
can find it.
There's
But
a few.
there's one because I watched like almost the entire show leading up to this,
Right,
like
of
to give
Extreme
like to
Ghostbusters.
do my thing I did on Instagram of Extreme
Mm-hmm.
Ghostbusters, and I watch a lot of real Ghostbusters. But there's like a place where he's from, like East Queens or something, and when they're pulling out of the house, when they're going chasing the ghost down the street, there's
Mm-hmm.
a street sign that says "This way to East Queens" or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah,
And the
yeah.
guy's always talking about how he's from there.
Yeah.
And he's like, in East Queens they do this, and then like, yeah, I don't remember what it is. It's not East Queens, but it's like South Bronx or something.
Yeah, because it wasn't that long. Extreme Ghostbusters. It only lasted what, one season?
Yeah, one season, I think it was 40 episodes or 30
Yeah.
episodes.
Great cast though.
Oh man, I don't know, but if you look at it, you'll know. I can't believe I forgot that. I should have wrote it down.
I remember Alfonso Rivera was in the show.
Yeah, he's one of them. It's a good
Yeah.
show. It's
Yeah.
actually a good show. Like no bullshit. It's a solid watch. Anyways, so we're gonna jump into the tier lists.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna let JD do his first. It's gonna be individual tier lists where we're gonna rank our rankings of Ghostbusters, and you guys can see it. So
All right.
he'll
So
he'll put it where he thinks, and he'll give us
this
why.
is my personal opinion. And so with the first one, that's an S tier, the original, always a classic, always the best. Extreme Ghostbusters was the first couple of seasons were great, but the last two or three seasons when it became Slimer and the real Ghostbusters kind of lacked a little bit, and I'm going to put it in a B. Ghostbusters 2, I would put in a B as well, right behind Real Ghostbusters. For me, Extreme Ghostbusters would go, I'd put that in an A. I had a lot of fun with this one. The Ghostbusters video game I really liked. That's going in an A. Ghostbusters of 2016, not as bad as everyone says it was, but it still lacks direction, and like it's not that good of a movie. Ghostbusters Afterlife, I kind of would put that up here, and then Frozen Empire I'd kind of put nestle in between.
All right, that's not bad. You have no D's.
No.
D's
No,
nuts.
everybody shits on this movie. It was fine for what it was. It just didn't connect with me because I had no connection to the characters.
I think that's fair. I mean, it's
The
your
plot
list. That
the
this is
plot
one
was
time
decent. The plot
that
was decent. It just wasn't really well executed. How about that?
yeah, that's fair. This is one time where it's like very separate. So I like there's no argument for me to make, right? Because I'm gonna do my own.
Yeah.
But I think yeah, that's pretty good. You can't really argue with Ghostbusters
Yeah. It's
number
the
one.
original is always the classic. It's like, the thing
Uh,
that started it all. What would you move around here? Tell me where to move, and I'll move it
all
for you.
right. So Ghostbusters, I'm gonna start in order. Ghostbusters
Mhm.
for me is S tier.
Okay.
So I would leave that where it is. Ghostbusters 2 is D.
Really?
Yeah, Ghostbusters 2 is horrible.
Okay.
This we'll talk about this in a
Yeah, yeah,
second,
yeah.
right?
Real Ghostbusters.
Rio's Ghostbusters is at the top of A,
Okay.
and I do agree with what you said, but I'm basing this on my own personal list, and for me,
Yeah.
that's pure nostalgia.
Fair enough.
Afterlife would be right behind. I know we're out of order now, but
Yeah.
Afterlife would be right behind.
The Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and then the game.
Mm-hmm.
Then Extreme Ghostbusters would be at the top of B, and then Lady Ghostbusters would be where it is,
Okay.
and then Frozen Empire would be behind Lady Ghostbusters.
Really, you enjoyed this less than Lady Ghostbusters?
I think as a comedy solely,
Yeah.
only as a comedy, Ghostbusters 2016 is really funny, especially the unrated version or the extended version, whatever it's called, is extremely funny. And the fact that they flipped everything upside down, like Eugene, sorry, Eugene,
Kevin.
uh,
Was it
Kevin,
Kevin?
yeah,
Yeah, Kevin.
Kevin is is like your
Janine.
stereotypical blonde Janine, who
Yeah.
in the early movies Janine is played stupid. In
Yeah.
Ghostbusters 2 is where she gets smart.
Yeah. She
But
helps Lewis.
and I think it's like the juxtaposition of like changing the roles of things makes it even funnier to me. Um
Fair enough.
I do wish that it was somehow made canon because I just like there being more Ghostbuster stuff. It's not
Yeah.
like upsetting to me.
I mean, there's a few. We're missing the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, which has nothing to do with this as
Yeah,
well.
which that would probably be at the end of C. You know what? Put Ghostbusters 2 in C, but behind Frozen Empire. It's not a D. I
Okay.
think it's slightly out of D range. But Ghostbusters 2 for me is a is funny. It has a lot of nostalgia for me because that's the one I probably watched the most.
Right.
But it's also not a good movie. And I made a post today, which won't be the same as what day this comes out, but it was the movies that you watched 100 just because you watched a movie hundreds of times as a
Yeah.
kid doesn't mean it's a good movie.
Yeah.
And I will die on that hill. I think Ghostbusters 2 is just a really poorly made sequel. And if you go by, this is the thing. I know there's so much nostalgia now, and you're
And
out
the
there saying
director of Afterlife made a cameo in Ghostbusters too.
this is factual. But you might be out there with your pitchfork saying, I love this movie. It's I grew up with it. It's so good. Yeah, that I
Yeah,
know.
but I've noticed Frozen Empire though, like you go to the reviews, like it's kind of like a mixed bag.
It
It's
is, but
not.
this is the thing. When Ghostbusters 2 came out, okay, because everyone who loves it now so much that has all this nostalgia for it was young then, They
Yeah.
don't remember that it was absolutely torn apart by critics. Critics hated it.
Oh yeah,
It
it
has
was
like a
completely panned.
30% on Metacritic. Like people did not like Ghostbusters 2.
Oh yeah, I remember. I was like 13 when it came out,
It's
and
one of those things that yeah, exactly. So tell them.
I was 13. I went to the theaters to watch it, and I was fresh off of watching Ghostbusters the original too because I had the VHS. And it felt like the whole slime thing was like completely dumb, I thought. Like the whole slime concept, the living slime. The only good thing about it was the museum curator, Janos,
Yeah.
and Vigo.
And Vigo. I
Like
agree.
I like the concept of the creepy painting that's always watching you, and
Yeah, and absolute babe Sigourney Weaver. That's fair. Those are all
Peak
fair
Sigourney Weaver,
points.
yes.
But it's for me, it's that's just what it is, right? And
Yeah.
I think it's the thing that people have with it, where over time they grew to love it, right?
Yeah.
Is what is going to happen with Afterlife and with Frozen Empire. I
Okay,
think
here, the
10
internet's going to kill me for this one, but the obsession with Shrek 2. Just because you grew up with Shrek 2 didn't mean Shrek 2 is a good movie.
Shrek 2 is better than Shrek 1.
It is, but it's still not like,
It's not like a god tier movie.
no.
Yeah, and but that's an unfair comparison because Shrek 2 is good. For me, I would say stuff like Kung Fu Panda and
Hmm.
like How to Train Your Dragon, which are good. They're
Yeah.
fine animated movies, but people treat them like they're something really special. For me, mine is, and everyone's gonna hate this, is Toy Story 2. I don't understand why anyone likes Toy
Mm.
Story 2. It's the worst Toy Story movie.
Yeah. It's
Or Cars. Like people love Cars, even though
yeah,
Cars
I
sucks.
Cars is terrible. Planes is even worse.
But people grew up with it, right? You love it. You
Yeah.
can like whatever you want.
Yeah.
Just understand the difference between liking something and something being good.
I
I
love the
like the
Garbage
Toronto
Pail
Maple
Kids
Leafs.
movie.
All right, they're equal. They're both garbage. Toronto Maple Leafs and the Garbage Pail Kids movie. Um, so I think that's just the way to look at it. But I think over time, those two new Ghostbusters movies
Yeah.
are gonna get that treatment.
Or
People are gonna
perfect
look
example,
back.
Gremlins 2. Gremlins 2 was not a good movie.
No, it's not, but it's fun as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always gonna be that, right? People are
Yeah.
like, "Oh, Die Hard 2 is good." Die Hard 2 fucking sucks, you idiot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That kind of
Yippee-ki-yay.
stop gatekeeping movies. The Crow, the first one, is mediocre.
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's good, but it's nothing special.
It
Okay.
was okay.
Brandon Lee is a terrible actor.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Not
Brandon
speaking
Lee.
ill of him, but like stop pretending like it was some god tier performance. Okay. Anyways, that being said, Footloose,
Not a good
Roadhouse,
not a good movie.
shit movies.
Yep.
Why do you care that they're remaking it? Just let them remake it.
Who cares? Yeah.
Lady
Yeah, I
Ghostbusters
agree.
not that bad. That's the moral of the story. We both did not put Lady Ghostbusters last. Did you put Lady Ghostbusters last?
No,
Yeah, you did.
I did.
I think so.
Didn't I put Ghostbusters 2 back? Oh no, maybe not.
Maybe you
I can't
did.
remember. I gotta go back and watch it now. Timmy, let me know.
We're gonna have to go back and watch it now, Timmy. Let him know. Anyways, I think that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I
And
got.
let us know. Okay, let us know which Ghostbusters movies are your favorite. Please let me know that I'm stupid.
Yeah.
My
Let
takes are
us know that
bad.
we're wrong. Yeah.
We're because we are. And thanks for watching and do 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 do.
Do too.